Inflation doesn't announce itself with a crash. It shows up quietly, in the same life you're already living, the same groceries, the same drive to work, the same bills you've paid for years. Everything looks familiar. Only the numbers keep rising. And by the time you realize what's happening, your budget didn't fail. Time did. In this story, you'll see how a normal household budget doesn't break all at once. It thins, stretches, and eventually gives way. You'll understand why rising prices don't attack income first, but behavior. The small decisions repeated under pressure. You'll see how inflation turns convenience into dependency, and dependency into quiet debt. You'll learn why some families feel squeezed even when nothing big goes wrong. You'll recognize the moment where control is either reclaimed or surrendered. You'll understand why hope fails when structure is weak, and why structure restores power faster than earning more. And by the end, you'll know exactly how households either redesign their money or let pressure become permanent. If you felt tighter lately but can't explain why, this isn't entertainment. It's a mirror. In this story, you won't just understand inflation as a headline or statistic. You'll understand it as a behavioral force. You'll see exactly how rising prices quietly dismantle budgets that once worked, why high earners and middle-class families feel squeezed at the same time, and how inflation turns convenience into dependency. Most importantly, you'll learn the turning point, the moment households either redesign their money systems or let pressure compound into debt. This story isn't about fear, but it's about awareness, the kind that saves years. Meet Michael Reynolds. He's 39 years old, lives in Phoenix, Arizona, married, one child, works as a project manager for a logistics company. Household income, $85,000 a year. Credit score, 700. Michael and his wife didn't live recklessly. They budgeted, they planned. They did what financial advice books tell people to do. For years, their system worked. Bills got paid. Savings grew slowly. Emergencies were manageable. They didn't feel rich, but they felt stable. Then prices started moving. Not dramatically at first, just enough to notice. The grocery bill changed before anything else. Same cart, same brands. Higher total. Gas followed. Then utilities, then insurance renewals, then childcare. Each increase looked small on its own. But inflation doesn't operate in isolation. It stacks. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, cumulative inflation from 2020 through recent years pushed essential household costs sharply higher, even as wages lagged behind in real terms. Michael didn't feel irresponsible. He felt confused. Their budget still looked reasonable, but it stopped behaving. That's the inflation squeeze. It doesn't break budgets by excess. It breaks them by erosion. Inflation doesn't attack savings first. It attacks margin. Margin is what's left after life happens. As prices climbed, Michael's margin shrank. Dining out became more frequent, not as luxury, but as exhaustion relief. Subscriptions stayed active because canceling felt minor compared to stress. Small balances rolled forward. None of it felt dangerous. That's the trap. Have you noticed your money stretching less even though nothing big changed? Share your comments. Credit cards didn't enter as debt. They entered as relief. According to Experian, the average U.S. credit card APR now sits above 20%, meaning balances compound faster than most people realize. Michael didn't carry debt emotionally. He carried it mathematically. Minimum payments softened the pressure, but preserve the problem. This is where the math changes ownership. Experian reports that rising inflation has pushed more households into revolving balances, even among people with steady incomes. Why? Because inflation doesn't wait for raises. It compounds monthly. Michael's balances didn't explode. They accumulated. Interest quietly replaced savings. The bill was silent. The consequences weren't. Then Michael ran the numbers. Total interest paid that year, $3,700. Not on experiences, not on growth, on pressure. That's when the diary changed, because inflation doesn't steal money first, it steals control. Michael didn't panic. He rebuilt structure, manual expense tracking, subscription audits, cash flow prioritization, aggressive payoff sequencing, spending friction reintroduced. Turnarounds aren't emotional, they're operational. People who survive inflation don't out-earn it. They out-design it. Smart money users leverage discipline. Others let inflation leverage them. Michael still earns the same income, but inflation no longer controls the story. Margin returned before wealth did. That's the order that matters. Inflation doesn't break families with one big number. It breaks them with small math repeated often. Michael didn't lose control in 1 month. He lost it across dozens of normal ones. Grocery bills that rose 5% here, gas that jumped 10% there, insurance premiums that quietly reset higher at renewal. Each increase looked manageable. Together, they rewrote the budget. This is where most people miss the real danger of inflation. It's not the headline number on the news. It's how many times inflation touches your cash flow before you notice. Rent or mortgage adjusts. Utilities climb. Food inflates. Transportation inflates. Childcare inflates. But income? Income adjusts slowly. According to the Federal Reserve, real wages adjusted for inflation, have struggled to keep pace in recent years. That means even when paychecks rise, purchasing power often shrinks. Michael wasn't overspending. Like he was underestimating frequency. Inflation doesn't need reckless behavior to win. It just needs repetition. And repetition always favors the faster cycle. Prices reset monthly. Interest compounds monthly. But most households review budgets yearly, if at all. That mismatch is where ownership changes hands. This is where the math stops caring how hard you work. Here's the twist most people never see coming. Inflation doesn't only raise prices, it changes behavior. As costs rose, Michael didn't downgrade his life. He optimized it. More delivery instead of cooking. More convenience instead of planning. More, we'll fix it later decisions. That's lifestyle creep under stress. Not luxury creep, survival creep. When time feels scarce and pressure feels constant, convenience becomes emotional relief. And emotional relief almost always costs more. Inflation feeds on that. It pushes people toward frictionless spending at the exact moment friction would protect them most. Michael wasn't chasing comfort. He was buying breathing room. But breathing room financed with interest always expires. Credit cards became the pressure valve, a bridge between rising costs and lagging income. Michael never maxed them out. He never missed payments. He never felt reckless. But according to Experian, millions of Americans now carry revolving balances. Balances that don't fully clear each month, even among households earning stable incomes. Here's why that matters. At an average APR above 20%, interest compounds faster than most savings accounts grow. That means every month a balance stays alive, future income loses ground. Michael wasn't borrowing money, he was renting time. And time is expensive when inflation is involved. Minimum payments reduced anxiety, but extended the contract. This is the minimum payment illusion. It feels like progress. It behaves like delay. Interest isn't aggressive, it's patient. And patience always wins when structure is weak. Something else changed. Michael's confidence. He stopped feeling proactive, stopped planning ahead, stopped believing the numbers would cooperate. That's what inflation really steals first. Not money. Agency. When households feel behind, they stop optimizing. They stop tracking. They stop believing small changes matter. But small changes are the only thing that beat compounding. Have you ever felt like your money stopped responding to effort? Drop yes or no in the comments. But Michael didn't wait for disaster. He waited for clarity. One evening, he pulled 3 months of statements, not to judge himself, but to see the pattern. That's when inflation lost its invisibility. He saw frequency, subscriptions that stacked, fees that repeated, interest that cycled. Inflation didn't overwhelm him. Untracked repetition did. This is the turning point most households miss. Not when money is gone, but when patterns are exposed. Michael didn't try to out-earn inflation. He redesigned around it. Here's what changed. Weekly cash flow tracking, not monthly. Subscription zero-based budgeting. Aggressive payoff sequencing, highest APR first. Spending friction reintroduced. Emergency cash prioritized before investing. Convenience costs capped intentionally. Inflation thrives on autopilot. Control returns with intention. This wasn't restriction, it was defense. As balances fell, something unexpected happened. Stress dropped faster than expenses. That's leverage reversal. When interest stops extracting value, cash flow regains authority. Inflation doesn't defeat people who adapt early. It defeats people who hope math will be kind. This diary isn't unique, it's common. Households don't fail because they're careless. They fail because systems weren't designed for inflationary environments. And inflation doesn't negotiate. We post real finance stories every single day. Subscribe so you never miss the next one that could save you money or make you money. Because inflation doesn't slow down. But awareness changes outcomes. Subscribe. Like. Drop your comment. Catch you in the next story.